Welcome to another episode of That's Right. I'm your host, Chris Voss. Today we have the president of the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, Jake Caine. Jake, welcome.
Thanks for having me here, Chris.
That's my pleasure. So, is it a ridiculous idea if you share with our viewers a little bit about your business and your journey?
Not at all. So, as you mentioned, I'm the president of the Real Estate Institute of Victoria. In that role, I'm afforded the privilege of representing more than 7,000 individuals and organisations across our sector. We work really closely with government to help shape policy and legislation. In that role, our aim is to help the industry evolve, and as it evolve for the benefit of everyone that operates within that sector as well.
Interesting. Very broad, quite a scope. What are some of the common challenges your members face?
When I talk about my members, there's, as you say, a very diverse group of people there, a broad constituency. And one of the universal challenges that I'm seeing that they're facing, and really which I think is increasingly relevant across all sectors at the moment, is the challenge of balance, by which I mean how we're spending our most precious resources of time and energy. We live in a world that pulls us constantly in different directions. And at any given moment, you might need to dedicate yourself entirely to work, or you might need to dedicate yourself entirely to your family or your friendships. And it's important for us to be able to aware of where we're expending that energy and how we use it. In my sector, there's a propensity for people to throw themselves entirely into their work, to lose themselves in their work. And I've seen too many people do this at the expense of their well-being. So I think it's critically important that we are really deliberate with how we balance the use of our energy, whether that's between our work life or our family life.
Yes, very true. What strategies do you use to understand your members' needs better?
Well, in recent years, I've come to rely pretty heavily on your concept of tactical empathy. I think it's you heard me right. Yeah, I think it's one of the most powerful tools that have emerged this century in building better understanding of your clients or your members, your stakeholders. And it's something that I try and put into practice on a daily basis. And it's interesting that this concept of tactical empathy that you have, it reminds me of this series of unfinished sculptures by Michelangelo called The Prisoners. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're this breathtakingly beautiful set of sculptures. Even in their unfinished form, they're stunning. Now, Michelangelo said about these sculptures, about all of his sculptures, that he didn't actually create them. All he did was reveal them. Essentially, the form was already there in the chunk of marble. And art historians have a view about that particular series that Michelangelo deliberately left them unfinished. And the reason he did that was to symbolize the sort of struggle of all humans to unburden themselves, free themselves from the things that are constraining them. And I kind of see tactical empathy as a modern version of this. It's about unburdening the person opposite you from the things that are holding them back from making better decisions. If we listen attentively to them, if we ask the right questions and mirror back the thoughts that they're expressing to us, we can chip away at those things that are preventing them from making better decisions or making better deals, being a better version of themselves.
Well said, well said. Is it a ridiculous idea if you share a time when you navigated a difficult situation for you or your clients using tactical empathy?
Not at all. I wouldn't mind sharing a story where I was more of an observer than the main character. The reason I say it is because it had a profound impact on my understanding of empathy. So it was back in 2016, I had the opportunity to participate in a program at Harvard Business School focused on authentic leadership. And I know that that's a place you're extremely familiar with. Throughout this program, it was very intense, right? Confronting in the best possible way. And the group of people that assembled there was this diverse, amazing group from around the world. we were forced to ask ourselves really challenging questions and then engage honestly and openly with people in a group who were put into a group. And we were a few days into the program, in the middle of a group session, and there was this guy from New York, and he conveyed this incredible air of charisma and confidence. He was extremely successful. But in the middle of this session, he just broke down, like completely broke down. And he unleashed this, like his greatest fears, his feelings of being an imposter, his struggles as a father and as a husband. It was this incredibly raw, emotional human moment that moved the entire group. But the thing that really sticks with me all these years later about that wasn't necessarily his outburst so much as something that happened immediately preceding that. Now, the woman sitting next to him in the group, she'd been listening to this guy talk, and he'd kind of talked around the issue, right? He felt like he had something to say. And she reached out her hand and put it on his shoulder, looked him in the eye and said, "It seems like you've got something really important you need to say." And it was that simple gesture of empathy which unlocked everything that he said afterwards. And that's the thing that really sticks with me, because whether she knew it or not, she was using tactical empathy in that moment. And I think it's such a powerful reminder of how empathy, even in its simplest form, can be the key to really cultivating deeper understanding and connection.
Wow. Yeah, very true. All right, so when you use tactical empathy, that's right, is what people say when they believe that what you just said is completely the truth. They are all in. So are you against sharing a moment when you had a that's right moment in your business so our viewers can get an idea of how it works in real life?
Not at all. I also wear a different hat. I'm the chief executive of another company, which is a real estate company which focuses on residential real estate. And not so long ago, we had a situation emerge with one of our top performers, a fantastic young sales agent who'd really gone off the boil. Her attitude had become pretty negative around the offices, towards her teammates and even to clients. And her performance, it hadn't fallen off a cliff, but it was definitely on the downslide. After a particularly confronting and heated exchange with one of her teammates, I took her aside and went and had a coffee. And rather than having the conversation about that explicit exchange and how it was awkward for everyone in the team or her performance, I simply said to her, "It seems like you've been really frustrated recently." And then she proceeded to detail how over the past sort of 6+ months, she'd found it really difficult to do the day-to-day activities of being a salesperson, that she'd found that her patience levels with her clients, with her teammates had eroded, and she found them to be irritating all the time. And she found it hard to come into work every day. And I said, "Well, it sounds like you might need a change of scenery or even a change of job." And she let out this huge sigh, and the sigh communicated a lot of different things at the same time, but at the core of it was relief, I think. And she said, "That's right. In fact, for more than a year, I've been thinking about going to university and studying architecture. I've always wanted to do that. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the grades to do it out of school, but I found a way I could start that credential as an adult." And she'd only been hanging around in the company out of a sense of duty and obligation to me and the rest of the team for the opportunity that she'd had there. And I said to her, "There's nothing that would make me or the rest of the team happier than seeing you realize your ambition, to live your dream. So you should go and do that." And sure enough, at the start of the next semester, she enrolled, got in, and she's in the middle of that qualification right now.
Wow. Incredible. Amazing. Good for you. All right, so if someone would like to learn more about you and how they can work with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Look, the simplest way would be from a personal perspective is to check me out on LinkedIn. My name's Jacob Caine, Caine. Alternatively, if you are in Australia, in Victoria, and you're interested in learning more about the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, just visit www.reiv.com.au.
All right. Jacob Caine, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure, Chris. Thanks for having me.